Bitcoin has entered very interesting territory where we are right now. Bitcoin ended up getting rejected at 28,700, more or less exactly where I was expecting the first area of resistance to be, and saw a really sharp drop down into the 26k range at the very same time that others like the S&P 500 dropped. The dollar, interestingly, dropped at the same time as well. I believe this was the drop right here, and gold as well. And that was all in reaction to the FOMC news, where I was actually wrong. I thought they would stop pausing. I thought they would stop raising hikes. I thought they would stop raising rates. That's exactly what they did, though. They continued, and you know, that did take the markets into a little bit of a spiral. But you know, you take a look at gold. Gold is a really good example of this, and gold's just recovering back up now again already. Gold really is trying to break above $2,000, and these are things that I think are very important for Bitcoin. You know, the market, by a lot of people's standards, really is due for a pullback. Everybody's looking for that. Everybody is saying that because, I mean, it makes sense. We are at resistance, right? You know, there are definitely some people that are, you know, late buyers and people entering late long positions and so on. Obviously, now a lot of the move has already happened, right? I mean, you know, it's all well and good to be looking at long positions up here, but obviously the best time would have been down here back when '4Flies was telling you that I'm buying fucking Bitcoin down there. And you know, now we've got some people that are kind of rushing into these positions a little bit late, but you know, it's all at a very interesting time because, like I said, we are at resistance right now, and we're just not really seeing much weakness. You know, if we look at the S&P 500, which is one of the key things that I've been telling you, I think, you know, Bitcoin is going to depend on for some strength. You know, the S&P 500 got this bullish breakout above this downward sloping resistance line that you and I know about very well now. We've been talking about this for a while if you've been subscribed to this YouTube channel. We got a really nice breakout, a really nice back test, and, you know, kind of breaking out, rallying on upwards from there. From the trend line up to our high, we're up by 4%, and, you know, just up to our current price, we're up by about 2%. So nothing crazy, but again, not particularly bad news. And if we bring this over to Bitcoin and what this might mean for Bitcoin, you know, take a look at this on the 1 hour time frame. We've kind of just been consolidating at our high now, and you know, as far as bullish signs can go, right, things that really show us that the market should be able to continue rising up, this is one of the best things we could do, because what we've got right now is a pattern where, you know, we did have, for example, higher lows and, you know, the same high being maintained, which paints basically an ascending triangle. What we've had now that we dropped that low is basically just a new trend line, you know, and you can kind of keep on drawing trend lines like this, right? I mean, I don't necessarily think that that's the right thing to do, or that it's a good idea, but the point is that even though we came back down to, you know, 26.7, really no big deal at all, the market's already rallied back up. It's already facing that resistance level again. Bitcoin really wants to break out. And, you know, if it was just Bitcoin doing this, then I wouldn't really care. But it's also gold. Gold is doing exactly the same thing right now. In fact, gold's leading Bitcoin, in my opinion. And that looks like a really big deal to me. You know, I don't need to remind you guys, but let's take a look anyway. Gold hasn't been able to break above $2,000 since 2011. And we're basically, I mean, you know, look, for a very long time, between 2011 right up until, you know, August around there of 2020, how many, you know, 3,300 days basically, a very, very long time, you know, gold wasn't able to get up to $2,000. Then it took us, you know, I mean, basically, what, 10 years, maybe more? Then it took us not even 2 years. And then it took us not even a year and a half. You know, and so that's showing us that we went from very long spaced out hits at this resistance level to now coming up much closer, much more, you know, immediate, quick, snappy price action, which is a great indication that, you know, you've got this huge cup and this handle that's very well developed now, potentially ready to blow up. Huge situation for gold here. I've been very bullish on gold, and if you've been watching me on my YouTube channel, on my Twitter profile, you're going to know a little bit about this, because I have been talking about gold as well. Like I said, I did think that interest rate hikes would pause or reverse. You know, that didn't happen, but the other predictions here have been very much on point, and you'll know about that quite well if you've been watching this channel for a little bit. And so what that means for Bitcoin again is like, look, if this narrative of banks failing, gold going up, and Bitcoin following is actually what sticks, and so far it is what has stuck, then I have to expect that we can rally significantly higher. I have to expect that even though we're at, you know, pretty serious resistance levels, you know, I mean, I've been in a phenomenal long position, was up like $180,000, something absolutely ridiculous. I'm obviously, you know, I've obviously been taking profits all the way up, and I secured profits actually right before this entire drop even happened. That was very impressive. If we take a look at this on the 1 hour time frame, I literally sold like a quarter of what remained in my position right at the top, literally like an hour or two before. Very, very impressive sell-off indeed. I mean, now it doesn't really matter because we're more or less back at the same price, but at the time that this dump happened, it looked like a great exit. You know, I have been offloading because this is a resistance area, but I'm keeping a small part of my position open because I have to expect that we can kind of penetrate this resistance level. You know, we're not getting such harsh rejections. I want to put something in perspective for you guys, you know, something that you may have not had a chance to consider just yet. When Bitcoin fell down to 17,000 and came back up to 25, it was pretty quick to get rejected, right? We got this rejection right here, and then right here, and then we had 1, 2, 3 you know, more rejections at this area, and then we were down. You know, we didn't really hang around for too long in total. You know, the sell-off really started within about 4 days. You know, we're looking at something similar right now. We're looking at like 5 days, but we're not getting particularly harsh rejections off 28K. You know, previously when we hit other areas of resistance, it didn't even take 4 days, but instead just one. Over here with the FTX high, the very same day that we hit the high was the same day that we started trending back down again. You know, this is very typical for Bitcoin, where when we are going to get a strong rejection, we get it quickly, generally not slowly, and generally not this slow. You know, and so actually when things are happening a little bit slower, that's where you have to expect that, look, we might take the scenic route, but if you're up against the resistance level and you're just kind of hanging around there, you are quite likely to break it. That's generally what ends up happening. So yeah, we took a bit of a scenic route here, we took a slightly more scenic route here, but the end result is the same, where the price ended up moving up. And so if we take a look at what that might mean for Bitcoin on a slightly more zoomed in perspective, it's the same thing that we've been covering on this channel for a while, which is that there are phenomenal support areas below us. Now this is actually a really nice thing about this chart. It's kind of between our resistance area and our support areas. 25K I think is a very nice support area. This is a huge 13% gap. Now like I said, I traded this entire move on Bybit. I also traded it on OKX. These are phenomenal exchanges to be using at this point in the market right now, and I need to highlight for you guys that Bybit is offering you up to $30,000 when you head on over to the rewards hub after signing up using my link in the description down below. Now that is $30,000 that you can trade with, just straight cash that they put into your account. If you make money with it, you can withdraw it. If you don't make money, it doesn't matter. Very, very cool offer. OKX topping that off with another 20K in rewards. Extremely, extremely enticing offers here. And like I said, these are the two exchanges that I used on this trade as well. You know, but what's even more interesting than that opportunity is how it's just so easy to apply it right now. You know, like there's great opportunities in these markets to kind of roll up your sleeves and get started in this space with the volatility, because we're not even moving in particularly dangerous ways. The very, very stupid are obviously always going to be losing money, but this price action has been pretty straightforward, right? We fell down to what we know is the most critical area of support Bitcoin has basically ever had at $20,000, right? I mean, this is Bitcoin's previous all-time high from 2017, and fast forward a whole 5.5 or so years later, it's still obviously important, right? That didn't, you know, that wasn't a risky move. That wasn't a particularly difficult, you know, bet to make. In fact, most people that study basic analysis books and then stop consuming bullshit will have been able to predict that pretty easily. You know, and that's actually something which I like to make a real point out of on this YouTube channel, because I'm a technical analyst first and foremost, and I've been in this space for a long time. This month actually marks my 6th year in these markets. You know, so I've been around. I've really seen quite a lot as far as technical analysis goes, and it's always been the fundamentals. Support is where price bounces, resistance is where price gets rejected. It's always been the most basic principles that actually hold most true and that allow me to make most money in these markets. A lot of people, they start piling on a bunch of crazy indicators. We haven't spoken about any indicators yet. We're, you know, a little bit more than 10 minutes into the video. You know, that's a big deal. You know, we don't want to be overcomplicating it, anything, and we want to make sure that we understand the basics very, very well, that we've nailed them. And so when we come back to those basics, we look at these huge opportunities. 13% range tradable right here is huge, and with that free cash available, whether it's this or something else or nothing at all, there are amazing opportunities worth considering with the free cash that Bybit is offering you. So check them out with that link in the description down below. But if we do fall down to 25k, I think that's a really nice price area for Bitcoin to get a back test on our previous high. More likely, I think if we do get there, because the market loves to deviate, while you might expect something like this, Bitcoin might end up giving us something like this, right? A very quick spike up, maybe some consolidation here, and then we continue to move up. That's what I would have to expect Bitcoin doing, simply because it's just a key characteristic of Bitcoin, and it's disappointing, it's annoying, but you know, whatever, we take what we get. You know, this is just what Bitcoin is doing, and to be honest, it's not the end of the world either, because you know, if we are getting price action like this, you know, this is more like what I'm talking about here. If we are about to get price action like this, that still spells beautiful trading opportunities, right? I mean, if you know that 25k is our area of support, but you know, 24 is also pretty strong, so maybe a stop loss just below. I know that this is pretty wide, right? Like if I wanted to buy Bitcoin, I would have a very wide stop loss here. It's about 5-6% down, so a little bit too big for me to be super comfortable, but that still allows me my risk appetite is going to be different to yours, so it allows me to trade with, you know, 3x leverage, something a little bit like that, you know. So if we do see a bounce off 25k, you know, and then a rally back up to 28, that is a 15% move, right? If I'm using 3x leverage, I'm still pulling around about a 50% profit on my money, which is pretty good, right? If I put 10k in over there, I get 15 out up here. Pretty cool opportunity right there. You know, going short is the more immediate play, but I'm not quite a fan of that. I actually spoke about this on Telegram. Those of you that are not inside of my free �4Flies Gold Telegram or my VIP are definitely missing out. The entire trade setup that I took here was shared inside of �4Flies VIP, which you can join by following this link in the description down below and then sending me a message on Telegram. It's going to take you to this screen. Just click on my name and send me a message. Super straightforward. It was all shared inside of VIP, but also on this specific occasion, I shared the details of this long trade in gold as well. So that's my free group, which you don't have to follow these 2 steps for. You just have to click the link in the description. You get more analysis from myself and my team around the clock, which is very interesting to be able to get indeed, just because of all the opportunities that we've been able to highlight for people. You know, a lot of people have made a lot of money following these channels, and also have, more importantly, I would say, saved themselves from losing lots of money. And obviously, you know, preventing losses is the first step in making money, because if you're losing money, it's almost like you're filling a bucket with water, but the bucket has a hole in the bottom. So it doesn't really matter what you do, you're always going to end up losing and having nothing at the end if you can't prevent losses. And that's, again, you know, it's one of those things which you don't really learn about unless you're being taught about trading from someone that's actually a trader, from someone that's actually got a bunch of skin in the game. You know, otherwise this kind of thing just doesn't really come up in conversation, because how would you know that this is important if you haven't actually completely gotten rinsed and screwed over in this game many times over? I am okay. It's okay. I don't need a therapist yet. And so if we look at these support areas, that's what I'm looking at in terms of being interesting for Bitcoin. If we look at, you know, things like the Ichimoku cloud, switching this up onto the 4-hour time frame right here, it lines up perfectly. We already know the deal here. I've covered this with you guys extensively. On the daily time frame, we even have support down here as well towards the middle or late April. So you know, it's okay. It's far away. I don't think we're going to be using this, but you know, if this does take a while to come back down, guys, I was warning you about it back here when we were just developing the cloud around over here. I was telling you, look, it's far away right now, but this may be useful one day. You know, we may actually come down for a sharp retest and end up finding some support down here, and that is exactly what we did. So you know, I'm not going to close that off for this support area right here as well, but I don't think we're likely to see it. 4-hour looks much more likely. 1 hour we are in right now and actively finding support off, although we've been trading sideways for way too long now on the 1 hour time frame, and we don't really have anything left on this indicator now. So I think that is a really interesting display of how, look, on these very short-term time frames we have lost momentum. You know, I don't think that there's any surprise that we got this sell-off at all. You know, and even though we are consolidating at resistance, which is actually quite bullish, you know, it's also quite typical for Bitcoin to kind of you know, just, you know, basically do this again, you know, and that's not something that I would rule out, because we are at a resistance level. You know, one of the key things that's been happening, I don't know if it's been happening recently, not quite actually, but, you know, definitely, you know, over the last big bull rallies that Bitcoin has had, I'm talking specifically about this one, a lot of the time what we saw was that the price was going up, but the volume was not. The volume was actually pretty stable and consistent, which means that, we weren't really seeing a lot of people buying. We weren't seeing as many people buying as you might have thought. Really, what we were seeing was the absence of sellers, right? So if you've got, a population of 10 million and you've only got 10 buyers for something but 0 sellers, the price is going to shoot up. But that doesn't mean there's a lot of buyers. There were only 10 buyers out of 10 million, right? It becomes a little bit more interesting if you've got a population of 10 million and then 100,000 buyers, and okay, you're onto something. But 10 people and 0 sellers, that dynamic can get flipped pretty quickly. And when it does, and you've still got only 10 people trying to buy Bitcoin, but now you've got 500 sellers, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of why, these bubbles pop. And we could be in a similar situation right now. We do have volume picking up, so that's not the case at this moment in time, but it is still quite low. The highs of our volume that we're seeing right now are only what we saw when we were consolidating before. This is worth paying attention to. Rallies that aren't backed by volume are generally not real rallies. Hate to break it to you, I hate to say it myself, I'm literally in a long position. I don't want to be shooting myself in the foot that way, but of course, as we know very well, if you've been watching this channel for a while, reality is what comes first, right? I'm not here to just kind of make you feel good and make myself feel good and step behind the microphone and say we're all going to make it. Absolutely not. Most of us are not going to make it. Most of us are going to get completely fucked, and that's just the nature of these markets, right? You kind of just have to laugh about it because it's brutal and horrible, but this is the reality of the market. Most of us are going to get very, very screwed, and so it's about just making sure that we're grounding ourselves with the right principles, that we are doing things to prevent losing money, and also staying very aware of Bitcoin's key characteristics, which are, like I said, deviations of our resistance levels, deviations of our support levels. So for our Ichimoku cloud, looking phenomenal in that sense. Let's take a look at the EMA ribbon as well. Again, nothing crazy that we haven't looked at recently, but all of these support areas lining up with the very same ideas right now. So I'm definitely liking the look of that. I think that this does put Bitcoin in a strong position. And even though I've taken a lot of my long position off the table now, I don't actually have that much money left in this trade compared to what I entered with. I am still going to be looking at, potentially even reopening parts of this position as we drop lower if we do, because I don't think that this is the end of it. I know that there is some big thoughts in the space right now that we could be doing something a little bit like this. Definitely possible. I don't want to say that that's likely right now, purely because we are above a lot of support levels. We had areas that were previously resistance. They should now act as support if we fall down to them. So I don't really want to be bearish, with circumstances like this, right? I mean, this is this problem of a trend following strategy, right? Is if Bitcoin is going to do this basically, then I'm going to be wrong. And this is very likely to happen. And I will be wrong if this ends up happening, but by following a trend following strategy, see, I entered my long position up here, I'm not even out fully, and we're all the way up here, and I've already secured, I think, like over $100,000 in profit there. I mean, huge profit. It's absolutely ridiculous, the scale of it, right? And you've seen the position evolve in real time. I've been talking about it, with you guys in every single one of these videos. This trend following strategy is what allowed me to make so much money. It's not something that I can package up and put in a course or anything, because it's actually very simple. I'm basically just buying when the market is already trending up, and then I'm selling it while it's hopefully still trending up, or after an invalidation. And an invalidation might mean, well, right now we are, broadly speaking, setting higher highs and higher lows, right? So if we invalidate that, then that could be a sign that actually we're going to start being bearish again. But we can invalidate these things quite a bit and still stay in bullish rallies, right? I mean, this is one of the examples where we were setting really nice higher lows in this market, and then we did invalidate it. We sweeped the previous 2 key lows, but we still stayed above this one. So it's like, well, what point? Because this should have been the low, and then we get this rocket ship, but we had this one liquidity grab. This is the thing, is that we get these deviations. We need to be aware of these. If you don't know what deviations are yet or how they behave, then of course, things like what just happened yesterday are going to come, and they're going to screw you over. But if you're aware of them, if you're able to position yourself in such a way where actually these things can make you money, then you're going to be in a very, very strong position. You're going to be in a very strong position to be trading these markets. 4-hour time frame also looks like we are trying to bull flag in some way. Very, very small kind of bull flag here potentially developing. Again, just hugging these resistance levels, this is what teases that we could be looking to get a bit of a breakout higher. There is a lot of resistance up ahead. I really don't know how much we can expect Bitcoin to rally up into these resistance ranges. Maybe we get another $1,000, maybe we get much more than that. I don't know. It's really hard to say. And so I'm just going to kind of be waiting to see how this plays out. And if we do get a pullback, I'm going to continue to be a buyer, purely because we are in a very nice bullish rally. And yeah, I mean, if I buy and I need to get, if I buy and I put a stop loss in and, I need to get stopped out because the market goes the wrong way, then that's completely fine. That's just part of the game, right? So you got to make these big wins in order to pay for your losses too. That's an important part of trading. And hopefully what you're going to see as you continue to watch this YouTube channel is that there's nothing particularly sexy or exciting about being a trader. Most of your job is managing expectations, to be honest, and just waiting. There's not a whole lot you can do. A lot of people think that you can just kind of sign on to Bybit and start making money. Obviously not. If you don't know that yet, you'll find out very soon that that's not how trading works. But that's also one of the beautiful things about it, because we just kind of do our analysis. I know what's up. I know what I'm waiting for. I know what to expect if different things happen. At the end of the day, I'm just playing probabilities. And you know what? If it works out, it works out. If not, doesn't matter, because it's a probability game at the end of the day. If you want to see a little bit more about my approach, really get behind the scenes and understand exactly what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, where I'm doing it, and all that good stuff, then bam, follow these links on screen. If you want to jump inside of VIP, definitely take advantage of your free $30,000 that Bybit has given you. It's up to 30K. Not everybody's going to qualify for it. It depends on what you trade with, depends on what you deposit with. If you are interested in getting at least some free cash, taking advantage of these huge offers, then check out Bybit as well. VIP steps on screen. Very quickly, actually, before I leave, I do want to talk to you a little bit about oil, because this is something that we've been talking about as well. Oil looks pretty bad right now, which is good for inflation. If oil is dropping, we can expect inflation to not be particularly horrible. And it's just been trending down for a long time. It's actually just punched in a new low for this little cycle here since the beginning of 2022, roughly thereabouts. And the thing is if oil continues to drop now, we could be looking at quite steep $69 down to like $50. I don't think would be even hugely off the cards here. Similarly, but in the opposite direction, actually, gold, like I said at the beginning of this video, looking very, very strong. So these are things that I'm also looking at for trading opportunities. I'll keep you guys updated on that. I don't want to talk about it just yet on video, but the details of those positions are already inside of 4Fly's VIP and gold, which you can join by following that link in the description. And if you do want to trade those markets, indices, commodities, and so on, Prime XBT allows you to take advantage of them with just a Bitcoin deposit, and they will give you up to $7,000 completely free that you can trade with. Literally whatever you deposit, if you use my link and code, whatever you deposit, you're going to get 7% back as a bonus. So that is very, very cool. There you go. Hope you've enjoyed this one. You know what to do if you have. Hit up the likes, subscribe, tick the bell, all that good stuff, and I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.